Welcome back to AM Northwest. If your teen spends all of his spare time with his friends, our next guest says that's not only normal, but really important for his development. Here to tell us more, we welcome back adolescent and couples counselor Yishai Busi. Good to see you again.
Great to be here.
So let's talk about the importance of peers. Why are they important to your kids?
So a lot of different reasons. So one of the things is that this age is they're creating a template for when they're adults. What we know that for adults, having relationships and connections with people has a significantly positive impact on health, well-being, and longevity. Right. We need that. This is the time that they're starting to develop that and form that for themselves.
So you're saying from 13 on?
From 13 on,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. They're figuring out sort of how to be in the world, how to have friendships, what that means. And I think that's really important for them to be happy as adults and successful adults.
You also say it gives them a chance to practice, as you just mentioned, practice being adults.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that, you know, in peer world that as adults and parents we're not really exposed to, we don't see this part, but there's a lot of negotiating going on. There's a lot of, you know, managing disappointment, managing conflict. There's a lot of interacting and communicating. There's a lot of leadership that goes on, you know, making plans, making decisions. You know, and these are all skills that they're going to need later in life. So this is their cohort. This is who they're going to be adults with, you know, raising families with, you know, they're going to be growing up with these people, their peers. So this is who they need to be able to relate to, they need to be able to connect with. You know, when they're around peers, sometimes it forces them to learn about different people, to befriend other people, because maybe they have a best friend who's friends with somebody else and they need to be able to get along with. These are all skills that they're developing that are that's gonna help them be better adults.
Well, what if as a parent you're not so pleased with some of the people your teenager is bringing home or hanging out with?
Right. That's a hard one. That's tough because that does happen sometimes. And there's a couple different reasons why that would be happening. One is your teen might just be going through a phase where they're kind of just need to sort of experiment with sort of what are these kind of, I've never hung out with this type of person before. I've always hung out with sort of the good kids. So I want to see. So that could, and they'll usually kind of move through that. You know, another reason why they might be doing that is they might be going through something. Teens hang out with people that they can identify with and relate to. And so I think instead of sort of thinking, well, I need to get rid of those bad influences, get my kid over here with these good kids, that doesn't work. So there might be something going on with your kid.
So that's where you have to start, is figuring out what's going on with your own kid.
Yeah, that they would be hanging out with this person who's maybe not respecting them or who's, you know, you think is a bad influence. The other reason, maybe your teen might need some social skills. They might be lacking some social skills, you know, and so that might be the only types of kid that they know how to connect with.
Right. You mentioned that it helps them form their identity. How so? Because now as they're getting older, they're kind of finding out their likes and dislikes. Like maybe they like hanging out with the drama kids.
Yeah.
Or the science guys.
Right. We all naturally raise our kids with our values and our beliefs, you know, whether it's politically or religion or just values around education or whatever it is. And so those go unquestioned until around 12, 13. And that's the time for them to start kind of rethinking, how do I think about, you know, the world and you know, our society and just their values and their norms. They're rethinking that and questioning those things to figure out what they believe on their own. And the number one way they do that is with peers. They're having conversations all the time with each other about, you know, different kinds of issues and different sorts of values. Now, the one thing I got to say, though, is that while peers are really important for them, they need to have friends to be able to bounce off ideas and formulate their opinions. It's really important, but they also need adult guidance still.
Right.
One of the problems we see sometimes is they're all peers, there's no adult guidance, and that's really unhealthy too. So peers are a priority for them, but they still need other positive trusted adults in their
lives. You say that having peers, many peers, increases the likelihood that they'll have positive new experiences.
Yeah. So what we know is that you know, peers, teens are more likely to take risks when they're with their peers.
Sure.
Adolescence is an age where there's more risk taking. They're wired to take risks. So that's sort of like that's what stresses out parents, keeps them up at night. So we tend to focus on the scary parts of that, right? And they do make bad decisions. Like they do take stupid risks sometimes. But there's a lot of positive risk taking that goes on as well. Lots of kids I hear, they talk about you know, got asked for help because one of their friends said, you should really talk to someone about this. Oh. They asked someone to the dance that they wouldn't have asked for.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe it's like, go ask her. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those things happen. You know, sometimes they have better study habits because they're studying with a friend. You know, like they're trying a new sport or a new activity because their friends are doing it. So there's positive peer pressure, positive risk taking as well.
And lastly, you say it reduces the risk of mental health problems.
Yeah. So we know. So friends are so important that teens that don't have friends are at increased risk for depression. They're increased risk for suicide. They're increased risk for having difficulty making friendships as adults. Friendships are important. If teens do not have friends, that is a big problem, and you probably need to get them involved with some professional help.
Yeah, good points. Really good information. We'll put the information on our website at k2.com for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thanks.